watchers, welcome back to Perth Watch. Today I have a piece that came in on recommendation from you guys. Actually, quite a number of viewers mentioned this particular brand, and what I have here is a Loreo. So I actually went out to purchase this particular watch. I haven't purchased one for a while, but this one I thought, look, many of you mentioned it, so I'm going to get one and feature on the channel. So I already featured it in that 5 watch sub-Homage comparison, which I did recently. But today I just want to focus on reviewing this particular piece. I don't know much about the company. It seems to be a little bit mysterious, but suffice to say, it seems to be one of those Chinese-based companies making mainly homage pieces, or at least homage pieces are their best sellers. So without further ado, let's just flip the camera around and take a closer look at this guy. Alright guys, so here we have the blocks in a closer view. Loreo since 1996, so apparently over 20 years old. Yep, this box is slightly damaged. I picked this up secondhand on eBay, and it does pass the spin test. You know, there's some good balance here, so fair enough. Right, simple cardboard box with felt interior, nothing much more than that. Simple cushion, and then I'll just show you, interestingly, this guarantee card does have an embossed number here, but nothing has been filled in. And then you have a manual, which is in Chinese, and it appears to be multi-caliber. It is definitely multi-caliber, and they do seem to have a chronograph caliber, which would be interesting. Quartz, presumably. It would be amazing if they have an automatic movement, but that's just the manual there. I don't need it for a 3-hander watch. So showing you this watch in a closer zoom in here. This is the Loreo L9201G, otherwise known as the Submariner, Loreo Submariner watch. So the MSRP listed on some sites seems to be about 120 USD, but on sale price it's usually around 70 USD or thereabouts, sometimes even less than that. Okay, so let's just talk about the movement in this watch. So the movement in here is the ST16. Apparently the ST16, I'm not sure if it's actually original Sea-Gull or a clone of some sort. Of course, they are not going to come out and tell you exactly what it is, but stats down the left of screen. You've seen this reviewed on this channel before. So the rated accuracy is unknown. I'm not really sure what they are supposed to run at, but the actual performance is kind of acceptable to me. I think in the last 2 weeks, this has been running about plus 12 seconds per day, which is acceptable to me. It does have hacking and manual winding, as well as a quick set date, in this case under that 3 o'clock Cyclops position. And you can see the Cyclops isn't exactly the best functioning Cyclops. It does magnify it, but not a fantastic amount, certainly not 2.5 times, I don't think. Okay, so that's the movement. Let's talk about the case, which in this case is a very classical Submariner dimension here. So 40 millimeter diameter, the thickness is 12.8 millimeters thick, which is really quite pleasing, and they've done a fairly slimline case back there to achieve that type of thickness. The lug width, of course, is going to be 20 millimeters, and the lug-to-lug distance of that classical 48 millimeters between my thumbs there. The overall weight of the watch comes in at 138 grams with a few links removed. Finishing wise, okay, so again, very classical circular brushing on the top surfaces of the lugs there. It transitions to a mirror finish on the polished side here. Of course, that's just really what you're going to be expecting. And then on the bottom, it has circular brushing on the surface of the lugs, as well as the periphery of the case back is also circular brush that you can see there. So with that screw down case back and screw down crown, and that crown does have a very simple L for Loreo signing there. The rating that they've achieved on this watch and that they've advertised for is 200 meters water resistant. Okay, so moving on to the dial then. So the dial here is, hopefully you can see it in this camera, as well as the macro shots I'll be sharing, is a gloss back dial. Okay, that's really what it is. It has printed wordings, including the brand, as well as the details at the 6 o'clock position, as well as the chapter ring on the periphery, but it does have applied a polished steel indices, right, in 11 positions, apart from the 3 o'clock window taken up by the date window there, and polished steel Mercedes style hands, including a simple lollipop for the seconds. That's really what you're looking for in this Submariner style Homage here. It does have lume on all the usual positions on the dial, including the 3 hands that you can see there, but just to note, it does not have a lume pip on the bezel in this case. So the bezel surrounding the dial is a 90-click unidirectional bezel with aluminium insert. So let's just hear it now. 5, 5, 6, all right, 15, another time. 5, 5. So that's 30 clicks. So it's actually a 90-click unidirectional bezel. It's a little bit loose. It's not the tightest fitting bezel. Very easy to just slip my hand across there, and there you go. It's actually turning already. So a little bit loose there. On top of the dial is a flat sapphire crystal. So that's kind of pleasing. They've gone for sapphire here with the classic Cyclops in the 3 o'clock position, a la Rolex Submariner Homage watches. Okay, moving on to the bracelet then. The bracelet here is of course going to be roughly an oyster style bracelet. It does have brushing on the periphery and polish on the center links, transitioning onto polish on the sides as well. Of course, it's going to be push pins. Right? In this case, this Loreo is actually a push pin adjustment watch. It's not a screw link like a Pagani design. It does have solid end links, which actually just show it to you. It kind of turns down fairly nicely. So for most wrist sizes, I think that's a welcome turn down there on that solid end link. All right, the clasp is, you got those deploying arms, which is very much a pressed metal construction, right? This clasp is very much just a simple, like Chinese OEM clasp here with a keeper and push button release. Okay, nothing much more than that. It does have Loreo on the outside here. All right, so that's the description. Let's just snap it on the wrist for a wrist shot here. Just to mention also, it's got 3-point micro adjustment. If you prefer to have some micro adjustment capability, this OEM class does give that. And there you go, the Loreo Submariner on my 17cm wrist. Remember, 48mm lug-to-lug distance. Absolutely fine, I think, for most men. It's a kind of sporty style watch. Of course, everything has been lifted from the Rolex Submariner. Okay, so that's the watch. What have I particularly liked about this watch? And I've covered some of this on the 5-watch comparison. But again, a pretty darn good package. You're getting that ST16 Sea-Gull movement, or at least a clone of it, if you will, or original, who knows. Sapphire crystal, 200-meter water-resistant capability, and solid end links on the bracelet. Overall, I think the quality is pretty good. The finishing is actually very fair for the $70 asking price. And again, the fact that the end links turns down like that is actually a positive, in my opinion, at least for most men's wrist sizes. I think that's a strength there. What are the weaknesses? Well, I would say, at this price range, there are many competitors that offer Seiko NH35, which I think most people would say is a better movement than the ST16. The bezel, I would say, is relatively poor in terms of the fit, as well as the fact that it's 90 clicks, which I think most people think is inferior to 120 click, and also inferior to 60 clicks, because you can't hit all the minute markings with a 90 click, right? That's what some people would prefer. And also to note, they don't have a lume on the bezel. They really, I reckon, could have pushed to put a lume on the bezel here. I would say the bracelet is pretty generic, right? Nothing too special about it, and the clasp is definitely very, very generic. It's kind of just a Chinese OEM type of clasp here, right? And then also, I mentioned this earlier, the Cyclops isn't exactly the best looking Cyclops, best functioning Cyclops. It doesn't exactly magnify any more than 2 times, probably even less than that. And then overall, of course, guys, this is unashamedly, it's a Submariner Homage. So of course, if you're not into Homage watches, particularly the most Homage watch of all time, this isn't going to be the piece that you choose. Okay, so guys, those are my thoughts on this Loreo L9201G. Let's flip it around for the wrap up. So there you go guys, my review of the Loreo Submariner Homage. It's by no means a perfect watch, it's got its weaknesses, but I think it does pack in quite a lot for the asking price that it goes for. So guys, let me know your thoughts on this particular piece, or if in fact you have any experience with the brand, any of their other models. Would love to hear how you have found their watches if you have used them. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out new content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time.